We all be family. Welcome back, family, to another wonderful, entertaining, edutaining edition of We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. I'm your host for this empowerment segment, Brother Ron, also known as R2C2H2, the artivist. And we are coming in live. It's all the way live. It's still 2025. And we all be alive. Can you dig it, man? And this is your man, the artivist, Brother Rum, the one and only. You understand? One and only. Yeah, I'm a second, but I'm the second coming of the one and only. This is Brother Ron, and this is We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. We got a lot to talk about. Not necessarily a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about, but I want to just chime in on some things that's been on my mind, that's been simmering in my cook box, or in my kettle, or in my air fryer, or in my pot roast thing. Let run cook. Dun 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 dun. Let run cook. Dun 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 dun. Let me cook, y'all. I'm about to cook tonight. Special dish for you all. A special dish. Spicy, right amount of spice. I had actually experimented in the kitchen last night. Cooked my version of Nashville hot chicken, man. Came out pretty good. It was seasoning, everything, because I made some hot Nashville hot chicken last night. And I'm the one of them type of dudes. I love chicken. I can eat it every day of the week. I never get tired of chicken, man. You can cook it all types of ways. I eat the chicken, man. I eat the chicken, man, because I'm a chicken, man. But my name ain't George. My name is Ron, man. And let's do the rundown tonight. Just warming up, trying to get y'all in. Got a lot to talk about. Not too much to talk about, but a lot to talk about. It's going to be very fascinating. And I love to get y'all point of view in. I'm doing a new thing. I'm trying to make sure I can read some of y'all comments in real time. So I got to set up experimenting, because this is the year of experimenting. Talked to a brother yesterday. I was in the baking aisle with the oils and baking goods and all that. Baking necessities. I was trying to figure out, do I want to have like the KFC version of chicken last night from my kitchen? Or did I want to have the Nashville hot chicken experience? Or did I want to have like something that I already knew that was tried and true? And the brother said, why don't you go with something that you already knew or know that's tried and true? I said, man, I just want to take a chance, man. And 2025 is all about taking these chances, man. You understand? Can you dig it, baby? It's about taking chances and realizing some things about yourself. So I know that it's the NBA draft going on, or is it started? I don't know. I know one thing. I saw that Game 7, and I always watch sports, especially like football and basketball. It puts me to sleep. I know it could be the most exciting game going on. It could be a Game 7 or a Game 9 or a Game of Thrones. In some type of way, in the middle of the game, I fall asleep. Like I looked at the first half of the Indiana Pacers versus the OKC Thunder on Sunday, and then I fell asleep in the second half. And if you have problems sleeping, for me, I just put on a sports game. I fall asleep. Uh, just getting full off of bread and circuses, man. But I noticed, like, the brother, shout out to the OKC Thunder for doing their thing. It was very impressive historic run they had. They were the number one overall seed for the whole year, man. And they did not disappoint. And shout out to the Indiana Pacers for being resilient, for being some fighting dogs. But they had a dog in the fight. They was fighting. No Mike Vick, dog fighting, man. Can you dig it? Everybody was dog fighting. Don't catch what's fast as lightning. But anyway, hope that Tyrese Halliburton could rebound from the situation. He had an issue with his legs. And I know Jason Tatum also went down with some issues with his leg, as well as some other notable stars. And I'm feeling that the NBA, like I saw what Nick Van Exel said a couple of months ago about maybe they should bring back high top shoes in basketball. Like back in the day, you never heard of some of these injuries some of these young stars are getting with the days of the Jordan and all them. They're wearing high tops. So I guess they had some ankle stability. And you got to think about them guys. They've been playing basketball for most of their lives, like little pups. They just been playing AAU, whatever, Same thing with football players been playing since Pop Warner. So there's a lot of wear and tear on your body eventually. So they've been doing a lot of jumping up and down the court, jumping up and down, running. Baba Dick Gregory would say running is a violation of God. It's a violation to run because like when you run, it's about a fight or fight response. So to constantly having your body in some type of constant flight mode when you're running, it's a violation according to Baba Dick Gregory. So to each their own. But I have noticed a lot of their stars have been falling due to some leg injuries, and maybe they could be prevented if they wore high top shoes. So if the NBA could come with a dress code, they should make sure that their players wear the best supporting shoes possible to give the best performances possible. Because you look at the Ball brothers, I think when Alonzo was having an issue with his feet as well. I know they fought and made their shoe, but I'm saying I think they should be a standard. It's not about really style; it should be about substance when it comes to footwear. That's very supportive of these phenomenal athletes. These guys are very fast and athletic. And we got Memphis. We're gonna talk about Memphis tonight. You got Ja Morant, who's been injury prone on the court because he's very athletic, very exciting to watch, acrobatic. But how long can your body sustain them types of things, right? You jumping high up in the air, you falling down, and we fall down, but we get up. But sometimes you may not get back up as fast or as soon. So we got to look at this type of stuff. I was talking to a gentleman about people mad at some of these sports stars or athletes making this amount of money, and I was talking about the football thing, and I'm saying to me, I don't care how much money they get paid because they're sacrificing their body, not only their physical health but their mental health for other folks' entertainment. They're sacrificing themselves to help put help their family. They're sacrificing themselves for our entertainment. And a lot of these guys, you think about an athlete, you look at an athlete and say that's 30 years old, you think, oh man, they're in the greatest shape. No, they not. They may look like they're in the greatest shape, but there's a lot of wear and tear on their body. A lot of you guys end up broke after 5 years, within 5 years of playing professional sports. In particular, I'm thinking about basketball and football and stuff like that. They get these big contracts, but they got this lifestyle, they got support. You get the baby mamas and all this other stuff. But my thing is this: you shouldn't be pocket watching people, especially folks that provide distractions from your life. Because a lot of these sports and entertainers are just used as court jesters. No disrespect to them, but they're used as distraction from things that really matter. Like people talk about Memphis, they say, "Oh man, it's not safe for basketball players to play in Memphis." And well, Memphis Grizzlies may want to move to Nashville or Las Vegas. I'm gonna tell you something like this: it doesn't make a difference where they want to move and all that stuff. They're not really the most important thing going on in Memphis. Sports is not really that important in the bigger scheme of life because every day you live is a game 7. It's a game of possible elimination. So your life is the biggest sporting event going on, or should be. Everything else is just a distraction. It's a sideshow. It's bread and circuses, like Caesar said. You give them bread and circuses, they won't pay attention to what really matters. So we're gonna talk about a little bit tonight, but really, what really matters, See this, check it out. Thank you, Terry, for coming in. We love you, madly. I'm about to give y'all some stew to think about. And this is the first show of the summer. This is officially the first show of the summer. And this ain't the last show of the summer, but I'm gonna get started. Shout out to my brother Jewel from the Beantown. He called me. I didn't know who it was. It was a phone number with Alaskan area code, area code from Alaska. And I called, the brother called me. It's like his long time listening to the show. He want to know how he could get his thing going on. And it inspired me just to talk to another person about my podcast experience because I've been doing this for a long, long time. I've been doing podcasting since 2007. Started January the 7th, 2007. Ebbs and flows. Sometimes I will quit, take a break, come back, go viral, or I say woke viral. I was the first person to really start interviewing Baba Dick Gregory on a consistent basis in this era. So I helped reintroduce Baba Dick Gregory to a new audience of people Also, I was the first person to actually start interviewing Judge Joe Brown on a regular basis. And you see Judge been making his rounds, been on regular rotation on a lot of people's shows and platforms. But I was the first dude. I feel like, I'm kind of like, Ron, it's not about you. No, it's not about me, but it's about the truth of the matter is that I gotta, talk about my, achievements. I don't really necessarily like talking about my achievements or what I have accomplished, but a lot of time has passed. I mean, Hurricane Katrina, for example, this August will mark the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. That's crazy to think about. We're heading to the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. And I remember like yesterday how it made me feel watching it, like a lot of trauma on and then we didn't have social media like that. This is before really social media. This is like YouTube is just 20 years old. To put it in perspective, YouTube is just 20 years old. Hurricane Katrina happened 20 years ago this summer. So we didn't have the social media thing we have now. And people talk about Katrina fatigue, where they were just tired of the news showing images from Katrina or dealing with Katrina stories. And come to find out, we was not getting the whole story about what was going on down there in post aftermath Katrina FEMA land, how black folks were being hunted by white people and all this stuff. And people thought that Cynthia McKinney was talking crazy about black folks being hunted as sport. You had the issue with Gretna Parish, but it's Gretna Parish, some Gretna, Louisiana, where the black folks are trying to cross into their parish from New Orleans for safety, and the white folks turned them around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. And you saw the gun. I'm about to walk back to New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans. I'm about to walk back to New Orleans. So that's the thing they did. It's crazy. And I remember how things happened. Pastor Lasimba Gray, a well-respected minister or preacher here in Memphis, he chartered a bus for us to go back to protest the early voting. This is back in April of 2006. He chartered a bus from Memphis. I got on that bus. I don't know. I think my mom told me about, him chartering this bus. He didn't charge us anything. So I got on that bus with other people, concerned citizens from Memphis, to advocate for the brothers and sisters or sisters who did not make it back to Katrina. You gotta understand that Katrina was a big land grab. The government was involved, but people say they heard explosions at the levees. And the thing about Katrina is that people don't talk about, because we don't really talk about history. We don't really do a lot of deep digging. But the eye of the hurricane did not hit New Orleans. The eye of the hurricane, I believe, hit like Biloxi or Mississippi, the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, the Mississippi coast on the Gulf. But people heard explosions at the levees. Certain parts of New Orleans was flooded. I mean, the Garden District, where think about the Garden District is a wealthy district of New Orleans, right? This is where Archie Manning, I believe, the patriarch of the Manning family quarterback dynasty, Peyton and Eli's dad, they lived in the Garden District of New Orleans. They didn't get touched. I don't think the French Quarter did not get touched, from my understanding. I could be wrong, but certain elements and parts of New Orleans, like the Ninth Ward and stuff like that, got touched. And you had people that have been living there all their lives and never went outside of New Orleans, let alone their neighborhoods, getting moved way across the country to places like Utah and Oregon and stuff like that, in very unsupportive environments. Like, they used to be around a bunch of black people, then the next thing you know, you were with a bunch of Mormons in Utah. And you used to be down in New Orleans with a lot of black folks, a lot of seasoning, a lot of Creole, a lot of Cajun, a lot of spice and flavor. And you out there in dry Utah. The Utah Jazz is really from New Orleans. I think it was called New Orleans Jazz. I think it was an ABA team back in the day. Y'all look this up. I'm just throwing food for thought. There ain't no way in hell you think about Utah, you think about jazz. When you think about New Orleans, you think about jazz. But the Utah Jazz, I think, came from New Orleans. And they took all them black folks out of New Orleans, moving out there. Brad Pitt was building them homes, some interesting artworks, whatever. I guess they were functional homes. It's a lot of land grabbing in New Orleans. So a lot of people left New Orleans. So that changed the dynamics of New Orleans being a chocolate city. See, this is the thing. When people talk about Memphis, y'all gonna put respect on Memphis' name. Because this is why I'm on here now, to talk about what's going on. Because People have been doing a lot of disrespecting of Memphis, and it's really weird because America is a ghetto. You know, the ghetto boy song, the world is a ghetto. America is a so-called first world power. It's a third world country parading as a first world power. Let me say once again, boys and girls, scholars and laymen, America is a third world country masquerading as a first world power. Now, military might ain't no greater army on the planet than the US of A. But as far as infrastructure, as far as the power grid and things of that nature, America, we have a problem. Okay. Thank y'all for coming in. Walter White, you breaking bad tonight, man. Walter White. Likewise, we love you all madly. Thank y'all for tuning out to tune in to get in what you fit in, man. But yeah, this stuff is important. But getting back, I was talking about New Orleans. So that was a big land grab. So they'll call themselves, they want to do early voting with a lot of the key constituents out of the city, let alone the state of Louisiana. So we protested that. And that on that bridge, like well, I think was we was gonna go into Gretna Parish. I think it was Gretna Parish that the black folks would turn around at gunpoint by the white people when they were trying to escape New Orleans. So we was going into Gretna Parish across the bridge. It was like an Al Sharpton production, National Action Network, U.S. Congressional Black Caucus was there. Had a dear classmate and friend. She worked as a staff member with the Congressional Black Caucus. They even had John Legend playing on the bridge. It was so real. He had John Legend, I think, with a piano on the bridge playing. I think it was April Fool's Day, 2006. So as we walk in, I'm and talking to people, I'm recording this moment, talking to this elder from Chicago. She was very excited, interesting human being. So I was recording people responses, recording the time. Then something hit me. I said, we got to tell our story. Because these folks' job, they want to bet the powers they think they be want to bury the Black American natives' perspective. They want to bury our stories. They want to hide who we really are to ourselves, let alone to the world. So that's what I came with the idea of We All Be, which is world enriching, activating, liberating love beautification experience. It's an acronym for world enriching. It could be world enriching or world empowering, activating, liberating love beautification experience. That's We All Be. So I came in with that on the bridge. So I started blogging in 2006, the spring of 2006. I created a blog on Blogspot. That's how, I'm just telling my history. Blogger.com, Blogspot. Y'all know I still got that. I need to do something with it. But that started me to want to document and tell our stories. And then I remember that Black History Month of 2006, I went to FedEx Corporate World Headquarters. Shout out to Fred Smith. We're going to talk about Fred Smith tonight because I have a Fred Smith story, and I have some stories, some information about Fred Smith that a lot of folks ain't talking about as it relates to Mr. Smith. And it's not, I just want to talk about it. He's one of the most important people in Memphis history. He's in the top 10 or top 5, one of the most important innovators in American history. And so I want to talk about Fred Smith tonight as well. But getting back to the FedEx Corporate World Headquarters, they held their Black History program, and the key speaker was Juan Williams, the correspondent from Fox News, NPR, very well known public intellectual, public scholar, historian. He wrote a lot of books about the civil rights movement, all this stuff, Eyes on the Prize. He was the keynote speaker, and I had a chance to talk with him after his speech. I was impressed. He gave me his personal phone number at the time, a direct number. He said, you can call me at this number. I remember having a conversation with him about wanting to start something because I said I was very disappointed about the local news coverage in Memphis about Black people and about Black issues and about just issues overall, but things that are happening in the city. He said, instead of you complain about it, find a way to get with a group of people and try to get on the radio, do TV, something, get with some people, and y'all create a media program, a media business. And I know that stayed with me. It was like, he gave me about 10 minutes of his time. And he told me, hey, man, just start something, man. Get with like-minded people and start something. So I said, I'm going to do that. But at the end of December, thank you, brother Brother Al, great dad. Thank you for your donation. We love you, man. That came in handy, boy. They're gonna buy me lunch tomorrow. I appreciate it. But I didn't know how I was gonna do that. I was like, I don't got no money, I don't got no resources, I don't got friends. I think that's really into the type of stuff. But what happened, God is awesome. We gotta, as for me, I'm learning I gotta trust God more. The things I know is limited. I'm very limited about the things I actually know. People think I'm very, very smart. No, I'm just very, very limited. I'm a human being like you all. And to quote the President Harry Truman, the only thing new is the history that you don't know. But getting back to like how I'm gonna get this idea on the air. Like, how can I do this? And my mom was a pro of mine. My mom is very Dr. Hurd is a very brilliant woman. She has helped a lot of students get scholarships by improving their ACT and SAT scores. She would help dang, whew, okay. She would have like free workshops that she would do around the city, and she would get people volunteering to help these students pass the ACT and SAT. And she's an ensemble. She gives a lot. She don't care about the money. She needs the money, but she don't care about the money. But we're gonna change all that. But anyway, her work precedes her. She has a great reputation. Somebody reached out to her about doing a interview on this platform called Blog Talk Radio. Now, Blog Talk Radio went out of business earlier this year, but Blog Talk Radio was just starting. I believe it was just starting that year. It started, I think, in 2006. Right? Think about it. YouTube been around 20 years, y'all. Blog Talk started around the same time as YouTube. You think about MySpace, where they at now. But anyway, the sister reached out to my mom to do an interview on her podcasting platform known as Blog Talk Radio. So I started looking at Blog Talk Radio. I said, dang, this is what God sent to me. I mean, my mom was utilized to relay this message that I need to utilize this platform to start doing what we know as podcasting. And basically at that time, we were just talking on the phone, just calling people up through that platform, talking on the phone. You answer calls, you could upload, different files and stuff to play music and everything else. It was an interesting experience. So I was a pioneer in podcasting with the Blog Talk Radio. I'm just thinking about, damn, I don't really give myself enough credit for a lot of things. And so my first podcast was January 7th, 2007. And my thing was the reason why I want to do this as well, because I noticed when I was call my friends and folks across the country, sometimes we have these deep esoteric type of conversations that would last for hours. And I think to myself, this is really a shame. This would be lost to time and history. We should document our conversations and share it with a wider audience, and hoping that other people can relate and connect with us, and we could start some type of movement. I didn't know what, but and that's what I did first. I started, talking to my friends on Sundays, regularly on Sundays, about an hour, couple hours out the week. Um, Then they start falling off. They ain't want to make their commitments. I said, "Damn, I gotta look at how do I get other people involved." So what I started doing was I started going on MySpace and contacting people on MySpace, and they will agree to interviews. So I would interview people from MySpace. I was like go to different websites like the Civil Rights Veterans website, CRM Vets, I think .org, CRMvet.org if it's still around. I'll go through their directory and just contact people. Say, I want to talk to you. You got some amazing stories. You lived an amazing life. Can we document that for the people? So that's how I started. Really went from like just talking with my friends on a Sunday afternoon to actually just seeking people out and helping them tell their stories. So that's all started January 7, 2007, and we're here June 25th, 2025. And it ain't been an easy road, man. It's been some bumps in the road. Some discouraging things happen to me, but you gotta, the marathon continues. And I'm thankful that I hanged in long enough to connect with Baba Dick Gregory, to connect with Judge Joe Brown. So we have some moments with them that's for posterity, and that's very important to me. And I guess I'm a historian. People call me a historian. I'm just a person that's interested in preserving and telling stories. So whatever you think that is, I guess that's what it is. But with that said, it's very important to me that I continue what I'm doing, regardless of how I may feel for that day. Baba Dick Gregory anointed me as the feeder, for better or for worse, y'all. And my thing is, when I look at the landscape today, I'm amazed at so many content creators and voices out there. It wasn't like that when I started. It wasn't like that. I was doing investigating journalism. I was putting my life in danger. I didn't even know I'll put my life in danger going down to Mississippi, investigating mysterious hangings with questionable conclusions from the officials. I was the one challenging the official narrative to a lot of these. Like one hanging, Frederick Jermaine Carter just stayed with me. Something needs to be done about that. And I was the only organization to really write like consistent posts. I interviewed the coroner, the state medical examiner, the sheriff, prosecutor, family members, went to the crime scene, everything, man. And I was just doing it for the heart, for the love of it, but it burnt me out because I didn't realize the evil, the organized evil that exists in this world. And it was very discouraging. This is back in 2010, 2011 when I went through this. And then what brought me back was interviewing Baba Dick Gregory for Django. And I ain't think nothing of it because I was going through a tough time. Had a really crazy breakup, real depressing during the holiday. I saw Django after Christmas. What's interesting in Django, I remember I met Baba Dick Gregory for the first time, interviewed him back in 2011, but I met him for the first time during the summer of 2012 at the Sankofa bookstore near Howard University. So I thought I had my equipment right. The audio was horrible. Y'all let me know about that. Felt depressed about that because I did, blog talk interviews with Baba Dick Gregory before back in 2011. And so I was like, oh man, this is not good. But then someone told me, call Baba Dick Gregory and see if he saw Django. So that's what I did. I called Baba Dick Gregory. He told me how he loved Django. I didn't think nothing of it. I was like, okay, I'll record him on the phone. Now, so I'm going to put this out here on YouTube, whatever. My YouTube channel, I started back in January of 2009. After I came back from Obama's first inauguration, I started it back in January 25th, 2009 was the first upload, I believe. It's a beautiful sister in D.C. She painted. She was an artist. I met her at Howard, and she told me her story about painting pictures. I guess she painted some pictures of Obama or something like that. She very gifted, and she was like the first interview I uploaded to YouTube. But anyway, I did it. I edited what Baba Dick Gregory said about Django, right? Uploaded it. Next day, I get this call. Baba is all excited. So what's going on, man? Have you heard? And then he told me like it went viral. I said viral? What? It went viral? So yeah, he said, man, Jamie called me, Quentin Tarantino, all these folks called me, tell me thank you, thank you, thank you, man. And I just want to thank you, man. And he had Lil on the line when he had Lil, his soulmate, his partner, his ride, and Liv on the phone. And you will let him know if whenever Ron needs to talk to me, you put him through. Because if you want to get Baba Dick Greg, you had to go through Lil. So Baba, when I was talking about the power of the black woman in the black church, he said once you understood who that black woman was, you will trust her more. But no, Baba is a different day. Now we can argue about that back in your time, perhaps, but it's a different day, baby. It's a different day. But he said, Lil, whenever Ron need me, come on, let him through. And also Baba told me to bless y'all with his contact information. See, there's a lot of folks that have blown up off of Baba Dick Gregory interviews. And the only reason a lot of them got it was because I shared the information how to contact him. Because Baba wanted me to do that. I remember back in 2018, the summer of 2018, I saw him in Kansas City at the Kansas City Improv. And I saw him. He was surprised to see me. It was his family, his brothers and stuff from St. Louis. They came up to see the show. And I talked to him the next day on the phone. He said, man, I'm more famous now than I was back in my time. Back in my prime, I'm more famous now than then. Back then, you only had 3 networks. Now you have the internet, man. It's because people like you, bro. So he was giving me my flowers, and then he did the feeder thing. But I didn't know when I was talking to him in that hotel room in Kansas City on the phone that he would be dead a year later. I had no idea. I had no idea he'll be dead a year later, almost to the day that he called me on the phone. Well, I talked to him on the phone. And you just can't take those moments for granted. But I'm thankful and blessed to have the moments I have with him, both the public moments as well as the private moments. And he saw something in me that I couldn't see at that time. Now I'm realizing what he saw in me. Now, it was very traumatic sometimes dealing with Baba, but Baba was a sergeant. He was a drill sergeant. He told me one time, Brother Ron, we are in the army. Like, we in the army for the universal God, universal God. If you don't like the assignment, get the F out the army. We don't need you. See, a lot of them elders from the movement that I talked to, that I befriended, they went through a lot of stuff. Some of them never got therapy. Some of them still traumatized, PTSD, all that stuff. But they were soldiers. They were soldiers. They knew that, it's not important what happens to me if I'm not concerned about what happened to us. See, they're about the village. They're about looking out. I mean, they told me all types of war stories that I shared a lot of them, and a lot of them I have not shared yet, whatever. But anyway, just thinking about that as I'm talking to you all on the phone. I mean, on the air. I said the phone. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So it's fascinating. So I guess I get the intro for that, right? Got y'all introduced. Thank you, Alexander, for topping in, to tune out, to tune in to get in where you fit in. Yes, Black American Native. That's the best name. That's the name I came up with. Cause I like, foundational Black Americans. I like America descendant of slaves, but I think Black American Natives, that's our name. Because we Black and native to the land. Columbus even made note that everywhere he went, he saw us, Black American natives, everywhere he went in the so-called New World. So thank y'all for tuning in. Okay, you a Black American native, a band. Yeah, we band. Band in the USA. We are band in the USA. And what people don't understand, God is phenomenal. People, until America, United States, the United Snakes of America, the Republic of to this republic for which it stands does right by Black American natives, nobody gets nothing. No legal, illegal immigrant, nobody gets what they think they should get until Black American natives get what we deserve to get. As I get older, I realize how powerful our contribution to this country really is. Ain't no other group of people in this country that have the claims that we have. We actually participated in the building, in the sustaining, and in the cultural identity of this country. Without this country, it has no identity. Without us, Black American natives, this this project has no identity. It has no culture. And they say we don't have culture. Our greatest geniuses came out plantations and whorehouses. You think about, for example, Louis Armstrong, James Brown, and Richard Pryor were all products of the whole house. Louis Armstrong mama used to turn tricks. Richard Pryor mama turned tricks. His grandma was a madam, and she went to church every Sunday. She was a faithful madam. She was a faithful hoe. James Brown mama turned tricks. They all came out the whole house. Louis Armstrong grew up in a place in New Orleans known as the battlefield. So don't talk about Memphis being all violent. America is violent. American history is a gangster rap album. American history is a gangster rap album. American history is all eyes on me. So you stop when you like what Baba Dick Gregory said, when you stop and think about it. Okay. So I warmed y'all up a little bit. Let's talk about this Memphis thing. It's very fascinating to me. This narrative on Memphis and how convenient. They want you to believe that Memphis is so violent, but yet Elon Musk is here. All these big time LLCs buying up all this property in Memphis. in Shelby County. But they want to convince the civilians, you lay people, you folks that love bread and circuses, that Memphis ain't the place to go. Memphis is the it place for the elites. They're trying to get rid of the vibranium, or they're trying to utilize all the vibranium. You know, Memphis is the birthplace of modern America. See, like y'all be listening to these wash-up athletes and all this stuff and all this jive. Y'all be listening to this media that's corporate control. 95% to almost 100% of what you call news corporations are controlled by a small percentage of entities. I think they said like 1.95% of everything was controlled, the media was controlled by what, 5 or 6 corporations? Probably less than that now. I'm not going to even look up the math. What I'm saying is, welcome to the matrix. Like I told a gentleman today in the military, I said, you know what's interesting? No, I'm in Memphis. This place used to be the projects right here. Well, no, that place used to be the projects. They used to be the hood. They used to be ghetto. They knocked them buildings down, moved them folks out the been for generations. That becomes the good area. That becomes luxurious apartments and condominiums and costly homes. But y'all told me for decades that was the hood. That was the ghetto. Then you move those people that used to live in the hood and ghetto, you move them out east, you move them to Hickory Hill, you move them to different places in the suburbs. They have homes with yards. They used to live on top of each other in concrete boxes known as the projects. They're not used to having a yard or a lawn to maintain and curate and take care of. They ain't used to that. So now what was known as the suburbs or the good areas become the hood. It becomes the ghetto. Because the thing about it is your mind state, you manifest your reality. Yes, we manifest our realities. Because they say about 8 billion people on the planet. You got like billions of different versions of reality. And we all intersects at certain parts, but it's different versions. It's like a billions and billions of different versions of reality. So my thing is, if you don't reboot the person's system, retrain their thoughts, reprogram them, everywhere they go, they're gonna produce a hood. They're gonna be operating on a low vibrational frequency. They're gonna be in a hood mindset. They're gonna be a hood rat. Hood rat is a government invention. The hood rat does not exist in nature. The hood rat does not exist in nature. The hood rat does not exist in nature. I'm doing my Dr. Umar. Oh. So you take a place like Memphis. Memphis is supposed to be a horrible place, but all these tech people coming here to utilize our water. We got some of the best drinking water in the country. We got the aquifer. We got, it's one of the best. It's the distribution hub. It's one of the most important distribution hubs in the country. We talking about Fred Smith and FedEx. Memphis got the world's second largest cargo airport. This is the world. This is not the second largest in America. This is the second largest in the world behind Hong Kong. At one point, Memphis was the world's largest cargo airport. This is the distribution hub of the country. Everything runs to Memphis. 30 years ago, you used to be able to fly from Memphis to Amsterdam. You could have one nonstop flight from Memphis to Amsterdam about 30 years ago. See what happened? I didn't like these politicians, these Judases that had been operating for decades. These parasites that's call themselves, the people think are leaders, been selling out the Memphis people for decades. Memphis, about 60 years ago, it was around when Dr. King got killed with 55. We coming up on would it be about 57 years ago they assassinated Dr. King in Memphis. About around 60 plus years ago, Memphis was at the same level as Dallas, as Atlanta, and Nashville. Dr. King, they took his life here. Over decades, Memphis go down. We used to be the largest populated city in the state of Tennessee. Now it's Nashville. Just a couple years ago. A lot of talented people, a lot of young professionals are leaving Memphis. at an astonishing rate. And really, the real crime is undereducating the population. It's not even what y'all think is crime. The crime is not the smashing, grabs, and the carjacking. The crime is undereducating a gifted population. You keeping a gifted population of people undereducated to control them. So basically, Memphis is a plantation town. This is the capital of the Delta, of the Mississippi Delta. You know, when people talk about Clarksdale, shout out to Clarksdale, Mississippi. Shout out to all y'all. But Memphis is the capital of the Delta. You know, and the person who told me that was Reverend C.T. Vivian, the late great Reverend C.T. Vivian. They say Dr. King's favorite minister, one of his close lieutenants. He told me, Ron, brother Ron, we saw Memphis as the capital of the Delta. He said, like, we talk about, see, I'm gonna tell y'all about the importance of Memphis. Y'all keep on wanting to crap on Memphis. Memphis, you know, Memphis is powerful. Memphis is a powerful portal, an energy portal. It's a powerful, the folks that founded Memphis, you know, this Andrew Jackson, the president with Winchester and Overton. They founded Memphis. They named it Memphis for a reason because they knew the power here of the people, of the natural resources. That includes the indigenous black folks, the Black American natives that populated this place. Because yes, we was here already. A lot of us was already here. I'm not gonna get into all that today, but we got to start telling the truth. Because it's like there's no people like us on the planet, like Black American natives. As far as like, there's nobody on. I mean, who else got a Marvin Gaye and a James Brown? Yeah, you got different culture, but who else can rival us when it comes to that type of brilliance? And this is not about being superior because we always, you know, look out for everybody, but nobody looks out for Black American natives, and that's going to change. It's going to change very soon. So, with that said, I'm saying a lot here, but you know, people want to use the claim that Memphis went down because of King. No, it didn't. Dallas didn't go down because of President Kennedy. It went up. Dallas Cowboys, I think, is the most uh it's the wealthiest sports franchise in the world. I know they are in America. I mean, basically, Jerry Jones ain't worried about winning no Super Bowl. He wins every time when he goes to the bank. He's winning. I mean, nobody wins more in football than Jerry Jones, even when he's losing. The owner of the Dallas Cowboys. But anyway, no, the real crime here is undereducating brilliant people, limiting their resources. Mind you, when people talk about these so-called basketball players, they really they really they weak to me. They sound weak to me. Because Fred Smith was a billionaire. He could have owned the Grizzlies many times over, and he died in Memphis. Fred Smith lived in Memphis. This is one of the wealthiest people in the country. A multi-billionaire lived in so-called poverty-stricken Memphis. How's that pop? A multi-billionaire lived in so-called poverty-stricken Memphis? A multi-billionaire who made his fortune dealing with talented people in Memphis. Yeah, they got now, as an Indian, is the CEO. They bring in Indians from India to come to work at the corporate headquarters here in Memphis. But you got a criminally undereducated class of people that if you had the proper STEM training in our school system, they could easily be taking them jobs that they're bringing Indians over to do. Black folks, we the original mathematicians in the history of the world. Black people from Africa brought civilization to Europe. They taught them how to wash themselves properly. They knew that tuberculosis was a contagious 100 years before the Europeans did. But yet Africa is backwards. You got so-called people telling me they bringing Christianity to Africa. Well, Christianity and Judaism was invented in Africa. How you gonna bring it back to the source? That's an insult. The oldest Bible in the world comes from Ethiopia. They say the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia. So who are you teaching, white man? Where did the Greeks and the Romans get their stuff from? How you gonna tell us you gonna bring stuff back to the place where everything came out of? Even here in this country, Louis Armstrong didn't go to MIT. He didn't go to Berkeley. What he had, they can't teach in the white folks' school. That was God given. But getting back, Fred Smith, the billionaire, lived in Memphis. He wasn't afraid of Memphis. He wasn't afraid to deal with black people in Memphis. A lot of black folks. My mom worked for Fred Smith and FedEx for years. I mean, thank God for Fred Smith giving black folks a chance. I heard all type of stories on my social media about Fred Smith. People that's like, singing his praises, black people. He put a lot, he set up a lot of black folks, in terms of like, making money, providing for their families to help them start families, right? And Fred Smith is interesting because I have a Fred Smith story. Like when I just got out of college, uh, I booked a show, do an art show at the corporate headquarters, the world corporate headquarters of FedEx in Memphis, Hatch Cross and Winchester in Memphis. I got with this lady named Sharon Greenspan. She was the curator for booking exhibitions and stuff like that. So I was able to get some of my artwork in the world corporate headquarters in Memphis, Tennessee. Our show was well received. I actually reached out to Fred Smith to invite him to come look at my art, check it out. Maybe we could meet, check out my artwork. Now, I don't know if he ever did or not, but he did write a letter to me, letting me know that he appreciated, what I had to offer, and he thanked, he was saying he was glad I could help him, that he could help me, promote my art. But I don't think he ever went. He could have went. But the fact that he would take time out and just write a letter, even if he didn't write the letter, his secretary wrote the letter. By the time he would tell her or somebody, hey, go ahead, answer the young man's email inquiry or whatever. So they sent me a letter, whatever. I appreciated that. But when I think about interest by Fred Smith, like, I want to, I want to be balanced. Like, there's a lot of great things about Fred Smith. He was a patriot. He was a Marine. He did 2 tours of duty in Vietnam as a pilot. So he wasn't a, he was a badass. He got his Bronze Star, I think a Silver Star, and 2 Purple Hearts. He started FedEx, back in '73. And there's a story about him how he had to go to Vegas. They were short gas for a week. So they were short $23,000 to cover gas for a week for the airplanes. And they say he took his last $5,000 of the company's money, went to Vegas and won $24,000 to cover that upcoming week's gas expenses. Now I don't know, is it true or not? I guess it's true now because people said it. I don't think he ever refuted that, but that's the story. I think he played a game of blackjack or something. I don't know. Y'all can look that up. But that's part of the legend of of Fred Smith doing that. So I thought that was very interesting. This man believed in his vision, but like with Fred Smith, he still had white privilege, though, right? His father was one of the co-founders of what we know as Greyhound Bus, because he had the Memphis route that ended up becoming part of Greyhound. So that's why I say he's one of the co-founders. This is his father, right? His father also founded Tuttle House, which is the forerunner or the predecessor of what we know as Waffle House. Because some of the people that was involved in Tuttle House, they ended up starting Waffle House. So his father was a visionary and maverick in his own right. And so his son inherited that trait, I guess, as well as that money, those millions of dollars. Because his father, I believe, died when he was about 4 years old. Fred Smith was born August 11th, 1944, I believe, by the sources. But I want to talk about this. Fred Smith went to Yale. He was classmates and friends with George W. Bush as well as John Kerry. George W. Bush became a 2-term president under questionable circumstances. And John Kerry was a senator from Massachusetts who was the runner-up in the 2004 presidential election to George W. Bush. Like I said, both of those elections was kind of weird, especially 2000, because quite frankly, Al Gore should have won. He was about to win Florida, and the Supreme Court stepped in and called it in favor of George W. Bush. And it had an impact on history as we look at it 25 years from now. This November, the impact that had on our history, the last quarter of a century, actually. And also Fred Smith was in Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones, y'all. They made movies about Skull and Bones. Basically, it's the Illuminati. Fred Smith was a member of the Illuminati. This is the same Skull and Bones that allegedly uh, George W. Bush grandfather, Prescott Bush, they allegedly stole the skull of Geronimo, the famous Native American fighter. They basically stole his skull and brought it back to Yale for Skull and Bones. That's the legend of it. And also, this is the last place where Booker T. Washington spoke. His last public speech was at Yale, the home of Skull and Bones. And I believe president, former president William Howard Taft. He's part of Skull and Bones. He was a president. He was the vice president for Teddy Roosevelt. Became the first president to become the chief Supreme Court justice. So he was a Supreme Court justice, chief of the Supreme Court after he was president. But it was all Skull and Bones. So I think Booker T. Washington, he did a speech at Yale, ended up dying under questionable circumstances. I did a interview with a sister who wrote a book called Death in 60 Days. What really happened to Booker T. Washington. And from her sources, she said he was poisoned. So nobody really knows how Booker T. Washington. They never talk about exactly how he died. He just all of a sudden dropped dead. Okay. So anyway, Fred Smith, Skull and Bones, Vietnam vet, just like John Kerry. Because you remember how John Kerry, he was a Swift Boat veteran. The Swift Boat Veterans for Truth was saying that he was a liar about his wartime service. And George W. Bush, he dodged the draft. I think he became part of I want to say the Texas National Guard, if anything, but he dodged the draft. But John Kerry went over there, and they act like he was a fraud. Just back in 2004. How we forget about things. But anyway, George W. Bush wanted Fred Smith to be his Secretary of Defense. He asked him back in 2000. Like I said, they were really good friends from Yale, Skull and Bones. He turned him down because he was trying to run his business. Then he asked him after his 2004 victory, I want you to be my Secretary of Defense. And once again, Fred Smith turned it down. And then Fred Smith actually supported John McCain back in 2008. So he was a Republican. But it was interesting he turned him down twice, though, because I guess he knew, like they were trying to find that yellow cake, whatever the hell they were doing. There was no weapons of mass distraction. It was weapons of mass distraction, but there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. It's like how they were trying to blame Iraq for 9/11. How could they do 9/11? We control their airspace. We had things in place where we were starving their people. And you think about how funny, not funny, but think about the axis of evil, right? George W. Bush, remember he said the axis of evil was Iraq, Iran, and North Korea. 25 years later, whatever, 20 something years later, the only country they took out was Iraq because Iraq was a paper tiger. Everybody else was the real deal. You couldn't touch North Korea without getting involved with Russia and China. And Iran's Iran. You ain't gonna, even we're gonna talk about that tonight as well. But I want to talk about Fred Smith. And interesting life. He had 10 kids. One of his daughters was a renowned wildlife photographer who passed away, unfortunately, from an illness back in 2005. He has a daughter who is a well-known, prolific Hollywood movie producer. She actually produced the Oscar-winning Blind Side movie. And then that story is in contention. It's being contested by the guy who was the subject of that story. It's being contested. It's been a long, bitter legal battle about with that movie as it relates to the subject of the movie, a former football player. But his son was, I didn't know he had a son who was also the former head coach for the NFL's Atlanta Falcons. And Fred Smith actually had a significant ownership in the Washington Redskins, not too long ago. Interesting guy. But this is what I want to talk about as it relates to Mr. Smith. It's no shade. I just want to balance it out. Something that I picked up. No shade, actually. No shade. I'm going to share this screen. Very distinguished gentleman. I want to talk about this incident here. Share my screen. This is Wikipedia. Wikipedia. Everybody say don't believe Wikipedia. Well, don't believe corporate news either. Don't believe anybody. Just do your own research. Take a look. It's all online. God dog it. Let me see. Share this part right here. It talks about a forgery indictment and car crash. It relates to Mr. This is from the Wikipedia page. They haven't taken it down. I just want to for the history. Before they change the history, they always like changing the narrative and stuff. You know how they go. Now, this is what it says. It says forgery indictment and car crash. On January 31st, 1975. So that was 50 years ago. Fred Smith was indicted for forgery by a federal grand jury. The suit was filed by Smith's two half sisters. The lawsuit alleged Smith had forged documents to obtain a $2 million bank loan, and he and his executives of his family's trust fund had sold stock from the fund for a loss of $14 million. A warrant for Smith's arrest was issued, for which Smith posted bond with federal authorities in Memphis. Smith was later found not guilty on the forgery charge. The same evening of his forgery indictment, Smith was involved in a fatal hit and run in which he killed a 54-year-old handyman named George C. Sturgill. Smith was arrested and charged with leaving the scene of a crash and driving with an expired license. He was released on $250 bond. On a $250 bond, y'all. All charges were later dismissed. This was not the first time Smith was involved in a fatal car crash. During his first summer break from Yale, Smith was back in Memphis driving out to a lake with friends when he lost control of the car he was driving, causing the vehicle to flip and killing the passenger in the front seat. The cause of the crash was never determined. So, I mean, wow, this guy got 9 lives, right? He got more lives than Ted Kennedy. If you look at this, and they got legal documentation. Now, but I just want to show what Wikipedia had, but they got the legal documentation. And I actually heard about this type of stuff with Smith. And I dismissed it and I ain't paid no attention to it. But it was out there. It's been out there, y'all. So why, Brother Ron, would you show all this? Well, it's not to disparage or belittle his contribution. His contribution was massive towards like Memphis, towards the country, even for the world. And like Tupac said, only God can judge him. But he went to war, he won medals for taking lives. Then he was able to get out of taking lives when he was a civilian and accident, but hit and run, and he got off for $250 bond, and the charges were dismissed. So I guess it was a payoff. I don't know. Maybe he committed himself to redeem himself by those things that happened when he was a younger man. Maybe FedEx was his redemptive story because he helped a lot of people achieve their dreams and make their realities a successful, viable one, the American dream. So I just wanted to put that out there. I think because, Eddie Griffin, I saw him a couple months ago. He was great. He was, he didn't disappoint. The night that I saw him, I think he was celebrating his 43rd anniversary in show business. So he's a soul survivor. Eddie Griffin said that anytime you have a great black man, when a great black man passes, there's an asterisk by his name. Like, oh, he's great at this, but this happened. Like Kobe was a phenomenal basketball player, but that thing in Colorado. But with Fred Smith, nobody's really doing that. I'm not saying people should do that, but people should know that history, that even he had to, deal with some things. And yet he was able to overcome those obstacles and make a name for himself, as well as a powerful, I say, baby, even lasting legacy. Because now they're in talks about, renaming the airport, Memphis International Airport, for Fred Smith. And I have no problem with that. I mean, he was an aviation pioneer. He did a lot for the city. He did a lot for the airport. The airport was able to get all this money because Fred Smith headquartered FedEx there. So they would get all this money. So I understand, but I remember back in 2017, though, I went to the airport authority to talk to them about renaming the Memphis International Airport after Jimmy Lunsford, who was an aviation pioneer too. Before Fred Smith was born, Jimmy Lunsford took airplane lessons in 1939, brought his first airplane in 1940 for what would be almost $500,000 today. Flew to concert gigs. This is a black man. James Brown brought a jet. I think James Brown was the first black person in America to own a jet, but Jimmy Lunsford owned an airplane. This back in the Great Depression. So I said, why not name the airport after him? Then I said, well, also, we should name the airport after him and Luke Weathers. Luke Weathers was a black man from Memphis. Folks was in the grocery business, I believe. He was a legendary Tuskegee Airman, and he was the first black person in the history of Memphis that was given the key to the city. And they had a parade for him down Bill Street. And he passed away maybe in the last, I want to say 15 years. And he's buried with full military honors in Arlington National Cemetery outside of D.C. I said, why not name the airport after Luke Weathers and Jimmy Lunsford? This is like a black city. Now we know it's the blackest city in America. And these white folks are looking at me. Oh, look at this Negro. Okay, kiddo, we heard what you had to say. Let's take a. I took a picture with them. I gave them some Jimmy Lunsford art I did, and that was it. That's back in 2017. I even made a change.org petition to try to get the airport name after Jimmy Lunsford and Luke Weathers, the great Tuskegee Airmen, black aviation pioneers. This country did not want to train Tuskegee Airmen. This country did not want to help Bessie Coleman fly. She had to go to France to get her pilot's license, an international pilot license. But yet they trained Emerald Yamamoto. Emerald Yamamoto was a guest of the Navy. He went to Harvard University, and then they taught him how to fly planes as well in America. And guess what he did with the information? He helped mastermind the Pearl Harbor invasion. They got us involved in World War II, December 7, 1941, a day which will live on in infamy, according to FDR. Emerald Yamamoto was a lover of American culture. American society accepted him over black people who had been here forever. They taught him how to fly planes and let him go to Harvard University, right? And yet what he did with that, he went to bomb Pearl Harbor. Just like his interest in Civil War, America trains his enemies better than anybody. Because you had, generals that were Confederate generals, they served in the United States military. They went to West Point. So basically, you had this high killing rate because they knew each other moves. The Union soldiers, the Union generals knew the Confederate generals moves and vice versa because they all were classmates at West Point. America is a wicked place. So with that said, I propose that they name it after these black men. And some other people said they should name it after Isaac Hayes. And I said, this is cool. All this is cool. I think some folks see Elvis Presley. That's cool too. But I think Fred Smith, why not him? I mean, he really brought a lot of money into Memphis. One of the most important Memphis people of all time. So whatever. It probably gonna fast track it. By the end of this week, he probably have the airport name after Fred Smith. But yeah, I as a black man, everything got to be a civil rights movement with us. But anyway, this is not to disparage Fred Smith when I talk about those things. This is show how human. It's like when people talk about Trump. He got 34. He a 34 count felon and all that. I mean, but Trump got guts though. He's a risk taker. He's a visionary, and he's the greatest president of my lifetime. I was conceived and came through the Jimmy Carter era. And I got a lot of respect for Jimmy Carter because he tried. He was a good man who was in a very hard situation. But Trump got that ruthlessness about him. He got that. Trump is highly intelligent. No, don't let these folks gas you up about Trump. He's very intelligent because, like, that move he made with Iran, y'all call it Iran, whatever. That was some gangster stuff, boy. Because everybody, I'm looking on social media. He got military veterans. Oh, he's an idiot. If Kamala Harris was in office, there'd be nobody. We wouldn't be here. The world would be gone. If Kamala Harris was the president, there would be nothing to talk about this week because the week would not exist because the world would not exist. That's how I feel about it. We dodged a bullet when Trump dodged that bullet. So we are in a better position, but Trump is playing like this he's playing fifth dimensional chess. He's playing fifth dimensional chess. He's seeing things. And this is the problem I have with Obama. See, people want to defend Obama. Obama was terrible. And you can say what you want to about me. I don't really care because God got greater for me, baby. That's why I don't care. I care, but I don't care about what people got to say and how they're going to view me, because I've always been a person that been looked down upon, that been marginalized. You try to make it invisible, but God got greater for me, baby. And what I'm saying is, Obama problem was he cared too much about being popular. Let me say it again. Obama's problem is that he cared about being too popular. If you are an effective leader, you don't rule by popularity. You don't care about what people got to say in the heat of the moment. You see a vision, you visualize, you manifest, you follow through, you make it happen, Captain. And then you let history decide if it was the right thing to do. You don't worry about consensus. You don't worry about popularity. Like somebody said about I think it was Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, one of Dr. King's lieutenant. You know, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth was down in Birmingham for Project C. And I saw a video he did when he was like older. He made a great point about leadership styles, right? I don't know if he was making a point about Dr. King, but I think he kind of compared Dr. King to like FDR, if I'm not mistaken. The FDR, he cared, he micromanaged, he cared about, the outcomes, you're trying to figure stuff out. So, but Harry Truman type of dude, he said you gotta be like Harry Truman. I don't know if he was comparing King, but basically he was saying when it comes to leadership style, you gotta be like Harry Truman sometimes. You gotta be willing to drop that A-bomb and go to sleep for 8 hours and not let it affect you. You gotta sometimes you gotta make those major decisions that's gonna be impactful and not let it affect you personally. You gotta be able to detach from certain things. And that's right. I mean, Harry Truman, he dropped the A-bomb. Maybe he would not have dropped the A-bomb on Germany or Europe and stuff like that, or even Russia, but he dropped the A-bomb on the yellow people. And he didn't lose no night sleep over there. He probably drunk some milk and went to sleep for 8 hours. And that was that. But some people like King, they will agonize over certain things. And you think about it, that was correct, because Dr. King, when he died, they did his autopsy. He had like advanced heart disease. He had a heart of a 60-something-year-old man. Like he had a heart of a guy that was almost 70 years old. And he was just 69 years. I mean, he was just 39 years old. So his health was stressed out. And they said Dr. King would stay up for days, stressing out, mental exhaustion, getting no sleep, chain smoking. I believe when they shot him, he had a cigarette in his hand, whatever. And people used it. Oh man, he sent him. He had a cigarette in his hand. I was thinking to myself, people like I have older. I don't call them elders. I call them older. Black folks who come to me from time to time. So Dr. King was having a menage a trois the day before he died. The night before he died, he was having sexual relations. And I would tell him, I'm glad he got some catfish and pussy before he died then. I'm glad he got some catfish and some pussy before he got shot in the face. Because you Negroes are despicable. This man sacrificed 13 years of his life to try to help his people. So whatever dirt you got on Dr. King, I want release on 2027, whatever, it doesn't change my opinion of the man and his commitment and his sacrifice for his people. It does not change my, perspective on Dr. King. I really don't trust the FBI on whatever they got to say about Dr. King, because the gun that killed Dr. King came from the FBI. It's like Cash Patel. It got to be some weird stuff, because even for the Stephen A. Smith and even for Roland Martin, like I said, a broke clock is right twice a day. Even for Stephen A. Smith and Roland Martin, you had Cash Patel, the FBI director, talking about Memphis is the homicide, murder capital, whatever. He gonna send in a task force. I'm saying to myself, I don't trust y'all, because the FBI, y'all the one that set up Marcus Garvey. Y'all the one that hunted down Jack Johnson. Y'all the one that helped kill Fred Hampton in his sleep, along with his defense captain Mark Clark. Fred Hampton Sr. The FBI was a part of that. They helped kill King. The gun that killed King came from the FBI. So why do I trust the FBI to do right by Memphis? If I know the history of the FBI, why would I trust them? I don't care if they got a brown face in the place, in that space where J. Edgar Hoover used to occupy. J. Edgar Hoover was a so-called self-hating Negro. I don't trust the FBI. And really, Like I said, the real crime in Memphis is not street crime. It's the miseducation of the people. You criminally undermined or undereducated the people, which so happen to be a majority of black people. That's the real crime in Memphis, undereducating a gifted population, while at the same time poisoning said gifted population. So we're gonna talk about it. This is why, I've been like, since Thaddeus died, it's been on my mind. There is no voice really that advocates for certain issues and for people that need to be advocated for. God, what you want to do with me? Dick Gregory said I was the feeder. Thaddeus had respect for me. We honored Thaddeus at the Jimmy Lunsford Legacy Awards with his widow and his daughter. What needs to be done? And I've been getting a lot of downloads. It's like that's why a lot of times I don't be on here on a regular basis, or people call me and I don't return calls, emails. I'm not being a text. I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but God been talking to me. I've been getting downloads, y'all, and it's like I'm really trying to deal with. And I guess the best way to deal with some of the stuff is to talk to you all about it, who seem to like what Brother Ron has to offer, who's been here for some of y'all been here for a while. I've been feeding y'all at my table, at the We All Be table for a while. Some of y'all are new customers. I think some of y'all like what we have to offer. Y'all gonna stick around. But with that said, I want to talk about Trump and what he did. And really, Trump should win the Nobel Peace Prize because what he did is phenomenal. He stopped these folks from killing each other for a little bit. And that's something to be said about that. They gave it right off the bat to Barack Obama. Even in his acceptance speech, he was saying that, basically he did not deserve to be getting a Nobel Peace Prize. And he didn't never deserve that because his reputation as the drone ranger speaks for itself. You're up there droning people, American citizens. You undermining their due process, their human and civil rights. Y'all blowing up people at weddings and stuff. You not the peacemaker. You the hell raiser. You not the peacemaker. You the hell raiser. You're not the peacemaker. You the hell raiser. President Obama. And the thing about AFRICOM, where they use him as a Trojan horse to get into Africa, now God has risen up a powerful brother in Captain Ibrahim out of Burkina Faso. I be praying for that brother. I always been copping my red, head for a while, like the A.L.L. Cool J Kango. But now he wear his little red beret. So, whatever. But I love America. I love Memphis. But God bless that brother. May the righteous ancestors continue to protect Captain Ibrahim as he build up his country. And it resonates with me because my blood cousin was the late great Julian Mayfield, and he was a speechwriter. I can't speak. Speechwriter for Kwame Nkrumah, who was over Ghana back in the day, back in the '60s. He was a speechwriter for him. Prime Minister or President Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. His wife was the personal physician for Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, Dr. Anna Olivia Cordero, whose birthday is coming up July the 4th. His birthday was June 6th. It's the same among my heroes, Jimmy Lunsford, my cousin. And Malcolm X used to stay with them in Ghana at their home. I come from revolutionaries and innovators and all type of brilliant people. We all do, because we Black American natives. We don't die, we multiply, man. And anyway, Trump did a masterstroke of a move. Trump, in a way, is a geopolitical genius when it comes to like tariffs and peace in the Middle East. He probably be the president that get it done. I say that because he knows how to use his power. He's like Lucky Luciano. He's from New York. He's familiar with the mob, dealing, building contracts and all that. In the profession he's in, he's familiar with the mob. Matter of fact, his mentor, Roy Cohn. This is Roy Cohn, the lawyer that used to be legal counsel for Senator Joseph McCarthy during the Red hearings back in the 50s. He was also a very successful mob lawyer up in New York. So he's familiar with how the way the mob rolls. But I say, to me, Donald Trump is like George Washington, part George Washington, part Lucky Luciano, and part P.T. Barnum. He's a showman. Also, he knows how to use his power, how to move. Like Lucky Luciano realized, when Lucky Luciano was on the rise, they had this thing called the Castello Moracy War. We had all the Sicilians, the mustache peeps. They all killing each other in the streets in New York and Chicago and Cleveland. All these, especially in New York, they go into the mattress. They hitting the mattress. They going to war. And Lucky Luciano realized all this killing was bad for business. So what he ended up doing, he ended up being strategic. He was known as one of the young Turks, the young guys, up and coming guys. He said, let's take out the two mob bosses that's keeping us divided and keeping us from making our maximum profit. Because all this killing is bad for business. It undermines our economic future, as well as us staying out of prison, as well as out the grave. It's undermining all that. So what he did, he set up his boss, Joe the Boss Masseria. Then he went to work for Salvatore Mazzano, another boss of bosses, and he set him up, got him out the way. Then he brought everybody together. He formed the commission. He's the father of organized crime, right? I mean, you could make an argument for Arnold Rothstein, his mentor. But Lucky Luciano, he set the piece. He said, look, these are the rules. This is how we got to, even though he broke, you don't supposed to kill your boss without consent. He broke those rules, right? But still, he set up the rules. He set up a table where everybody can eat. Donald Trump is doing the same thing. He's setting the rules. He's setting the parameters. He's setting up a table for everybody to eat. He did it in such a brilliant way where Israel can save face and Iran can save face as they work their way towards a better peaceful existence. Like he did in a way where Iran could actually celebrate because they actually did hurt Israel economically. They hurt Israel economically. They hit economic spots in Israel, and that's why people don't want to talk about that, but Iran could celebrate that. And also Israel, they can celebrate, they survive, they still exist, so they can celebrate that. But what the thing about it is, Donald Trump, it seems like he go out his way not to try to kill a lot of people. I know this sounds weird. He goes out his way to not kill a lot of people to make his point. Like he hit those so-called nuclear installations. People are saying, hey, there was a caravan of trucks that moved out all this material. It could have been nuclear related material out of those installations before you hit them. They did bunker busters and stuff like that. And then Trump talked about, them retaliating, hitting bases in Qatar, whatever, in Iraq. He said they didn't do no damage. They didn't kill nobody. And my thing is, the places he hit, I don't know if they killed anybody, but he did. It's so strategic and surgical how he's moving. And yet people they're getting outraged on Trump derangement syndrome overtime. I never seen such foolery. It's just like I live in the state of Tennessee. And I remember a representative, Joe Towns, State Rep Joe Towns, he had talked to us at a ceremony that I was a part of. It's back on April 4th, 2021. He's a longtime state rep in Tennessee. Basically, he said that we cannot do nothing for anybody back home in Nashville. Nashville is the capital of Tennessee. He said, we cannot get any legislation done, whatever like that. We cannot deal with them people from East Tennessee. I'm basically paraphrasing, but he said, pray to Jesus. He said, go to Jesus and pray. And that struck a chord with me. I said, what? So why are we waiting in long lines and dealing with all type of stuff to vote for you guys? And you saying basically, I can't do nothing for us. I can't do nothing for you, man. Basically, that's what you're saying. So what is they saying? That's what they saying. So we got these people. So I remember a gentleman told me, he met with the mayor of Memphis. I'm gonna say I don't care, cause I don't got friends like that in Memphis. These folks, they surprised I'm still alive. Ain't a lot of people look at me, man, brother Ron, where you been? I said, I've been doing the thing, but they've been shadow banning me, and y'all don't support it. Y'all wish I would go away. I'm not going away now. I've been taking my vitamins and working out and getting hydrated and getting better, getting healthy, feet healing and stuff like that. I ain't going nowhere. This is a marathon, baby. So like he said, he approached Mayor Young. He got a nonprofit They're doing work in the community. They got a record of doing work in the community, documented Black excellence. The mayor basically told him, he did Obama, I can't do anything just for Black people. The mayor told him that I can't do anything just for Black people. And this is the mayor of Memphis, Paul Young, the current mayor. And allegedly, I'm saying, I talked to him personally. I can tell you what we talked about. I'm gonna tell it because I was there. But on this is allegedly, he said, I can't do anything for Black people. I'm saying, but bro, Memphis is 63% Black. Memphis is 63% Black. So even if you say I'm gonna just do something for Black people, it benefits mostly all of Memphis. If we do this, the people of Memphis. But I said the biggest crime in Memphis is not the crime you see on the news every night. It's you criminally undereducate people to make them good enough to work in the hub, the FedEx hub, the plantation, or throwing boxes in the factories or forklifts. No disrespect to that, but you made Memphis to a temp capital, a temp job capital. You're not really feeding the minds that are the innovators. And let's look at the music. What would music be without Memphis in the 20th century? What would American music in the 20th century be without Memphis' contribution? And yet, the reason why that happened, and the reason why I celebrate Jimmy Love, he started music education at a high level in the so-called Memphis City schools back. He did it as a volunteer in Manassas in North Memphis. You know, he's the first jazz music educator within a formal school system in the world. And he started it with Black people in Memphis. Some of the people that were in his band at Manassas, they ended up becoming music educators in their own rights, becoming band directors at different middle and high schools throughout the place. So you had very gifted individuals educating young, gifted people. And that's why Stax had the amazing musicianship they had, because you had these Black kids coming out of these schools that had phenomenal music education programs in Memphis. So, you know, like Miles Davis talked about in his autobiography, he said, I kept on getting all these guys from Memphis in my band, like George Coleman and Harold Mayburn and people like that. He talked about Frank Strozier and Booker Little, the great trumpet player. And he trying to figure out what they doing at that one school to produce all these people. It's back from the 50s and stuff. George Coleman, all these guys, he phenomenal, like some of the greatest jazz musicians of the 20th century, some of the most important. And he's saying what they doing, and their teacher back then was a guy named Matthew Garrett, who was at Manassas where Jimmy Lunsford started. Now, this is Black Music Month. I'm going to talk about it. He is the father of Dee Dee Bridgewater, the great Grammy Award-winning jazz singer, vocalist, diva, who was born in Memphis, but she was raised in Michigan. So that's his, this is Memphis, man. This is like, he didn't say, Miles Davis didn't say city. He didn't say state. He said a high school. What they doing down there? And Miles Davis' music hero growing up in East St. Louis was Jimmy Lunsford. I don't know if he knew that Jimmy Lunsford started that. Jimmy Lunsford was a music hero for Miles Davis, Horace Silver, Quincy Jones. We just lost Quincy. So, I mean, this is Memphis. You scared to come to a place where you create master teachers? You know, the first Black American musician or singer to perform at the Vatican was from that same school that Jimmy Lunsford started at, Vera Little, whose brother was the jazz great Booker Little, who died at 23. Unfortunately, he died young. Phenomenal jazz trumpet player. His sister was a phenomenal opera singer, and she was a guest of honor at the Vatican on April 4th, 1959. April 4th is such a significant day in Memphis history, right? You got April 4th, 59, where Vera Little becomes the first Black American native musician to perform at the Vatican. There's a picture of her meeting with the Pope. It's online. Take a look. It's all online. Then you had April 4th, 1968, what they did to Dr. King in Memphis. And what people don't realize, that Dr. King had a love affair with Memphis because his favorite singer was not Mahalia Jackson. Mahalia Jackson was a dear friend and supporter of Dr. King, but his favorite singer was a brother from South Memphis named J. Robert Bradley, who was known as Mr. Baptist. Look at Mr. Baptist. He died in 2000s in Nashville. But that was his favorite singer. He was trained by Lucy Campbell, a longtime teacher at Booker T. Washington High School, not that far from where I'm at right now. And also, she's the mother of gospel music. She trained Mahalia Jackson, and debuted the opera singer Marian Anderson at the National Baptist Convention, which is in trouble now because they sold out people for 300,000 pieces of silver. And that's another story for another day. But what I'm saying is, this same high school produced the likes of Johnny Ace, the great blues rock R&B singer, who is the grandfather of Legacy. It also produced Maurice White, who is the architect and founder of Earth, Wind, and Fire. That's at high school here in Memphis, Booker T. Washington High School. That's the same high school that Obama spoke at the graduation for some years back. You know, when they won the national invitation contest for Obama to speak at the graduation. That Booker T. Washington High School in South Memphis. So I'm gonna need y'all to put some respect on Memphis name. Y'all speak about Memphis. I don't like how these ignorant people be speaking about my city. You know, I've been in Memphis most of my life. All the cities they talk about, I love. I love Chicago. Chicago's phenomenal. I love Detroit, Baltimore, St. Louis. I love these places. People, all they crime rate. So what y'all looking for though? Like y'all got bad intentions everywhere y'all go. Y'all bring that wrong attitude. You bring that wrong vibrancy and frequency to this conversation. See, you don't have to look for trouble. Trouble finds you. See, people always trying to look for something. You look for whatever you want to look for, and you'll find it. But yet it finds you. So what I'm saying is, with Memphis, there's a lot to offer, but the problem is the politicians, a lot of them low vibrational. They're not public servants. They don't know no idea about the riches of history of Memphis. Elon Musk told the white boy named, y'all go crazy, that psychiatrist or psychologist from Canada. I can't think of his name. Y'all know what his name is? Jordan Peterson. You know, Jordan Peterson asked him, what you doing down in Memphis? He said, raising a new God. He started laughing, but he told the truth. So I'm raising a new God. Because what's going on, Memphis is about to become the first smart city in America. Now they're working on Los Angeles. They're getting Los Angeles ready for the 2028 Olympics. So y'all don't understand. Like y'all caught in it. Well, the fire insurance got canceled. All the water got canceled. But the Olympics ain't getting canceled. And people don't. They should postpone the Olympics. No, they making way for the Olympics and trying to get rid of certain elements. No, ice, baby. Climate change came to Los Angeles, y'all. It came to Los Angeles, but you know, so well, I remember got something that's jumping all over the place. Not really, because this could be just it. But Memphis has been sold out by politicians. The greatest mayor in my lifetime in Memphis history for me, the greatest Memphis mayor in my lifetime is Harrington, and even he is problematic. But the reason why I say about Harrington is because he's a product of South Memphis. He's a product of Memphis, a proud product, native son, well educated. He was a school board superintendent back in the day. He was mayor for a long time. And also he was a people's champ. He was a people's mayor. He was elected by the people. Unlike Paul Young, the current mayor, who could not get 30% of the vote. And really, when he could not get 30, if they couldn't get on the majority vote, it should have been a runoff. Like Paul Young did not even get 30% of the vote, but yeah, he's the mayor of Memphis. But Mayor Harrington did get enough votes. They were trying to cheat Mayor Harrington the first time. They were trying to keep Dick Hackett in office. He was the mayor before Harrington, and they were trying to cheat. But Harrington had the people as well as the Ford political machine behind him, so they was able to catch him while they were trying to cheat. And he was in office for several terms. It's about 4 to 5 terms, something like that. He resigned to run for U.S. House of Representatives. Got defeated soundly by Cohen, but he was put in there by the people. He had a mandate. He did things. He helped black business owners. He helped a lot of people and things. He tried to bring things to Memphis. Like he tried to bring a rail system. Now he's trying to upgrade the transportation infrastructure in Memphis. They blocked him. I remember when he was trying to bring the casino. You know, they're trying to get the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Memphis. All this stuff. You know, he was trying to do things. He had a vision for Memphis. Um, they blocked him on the casino. Maybe that was a good thing. I don't know, because Tunica is dried out. You know, Tunica County don't. It didn't. I thought Tunica was gonna be like Vegas, but you know the powers they think they'd be, they know best. You know, they want to keep undereducating the gifted people of the Delta, and God got another thing coming very soon. God got another thing. That center's thing in Clarksdale is on the beginning of the revolution, resurrection, insurrection of the Black American natives back to our origin source. We're going back home, folks, in a very good way. This will be the Wakanda for the country. I mean, Memphis will be Wakanda if we get the right people in the right positions. And we're going to have to depend on something. Uh, some people call it supernatural, but like the leadership that's coming to Memphis won't be from the traditional sources. In Memphis, you got to be a reverend. You got to be a divine nine. That's, AKA Alpha, Kappa, whatever, Omega, whatever. One of those frats or Black Greek sororities and fraternities. You got to be Black Boule, Jack and Jill. Got to be a Mason and all that. I'm none of that. I'm just Ronald Hurd. I am Ronald Cortez Hurd II. That's who I am. I am none of that stuff, but I am enough. I am a child of God. And God got me, because these people, they don't want me to have nothing. So you people out there that like the words from Brother Hurd, please spread the word about what I'm doing. Man, you know what? This is crazy. No matter, I have my banner running. There they go. That's my banner. So I can help me out. Stay in touch with Brother Hurd. But yeah, this shit is interesting. And getting back to politics, Paul Young said he told the dude that he could do nothing for Black people, even though Black people are 63% of the population of the city. 6 plus 3 is 9. This is the year of the 9. It's the year of beginnings and endings. The year of the 9. That's where we at. So with that said, uh I'm a life path 9, by the way. So this is my trick bag. But these are things I want from Memphis. Like, I don't really care about the noise, Stephen A. The fact that the mayor care about what Stephen A. Smith got to think about Memphis, they trying to roll out the red carpet for Stephen A. Smith is ridiculous. From what I heard, and the fact that the news will report about dudes sitting on a shade tree near a barbershop, checking plain a dozen on Stephen A. Smith, and the same news people would not showcase what we've been doing at the We All Be Group Incorporated, in terms of my organization doing positive things in the community. They would interview me. These folks have the nerve. Like ABC 24 did it twice. Then Fox 13 did it once. They have the nerve, the gall to interview me at my events and not run the stories. They'll tell me it'll be on at this time of the time, and it don't get run. So my thing is, especially if you're running for office in Memphis or anything, it's important to have your own media platform. This is why I need y'all support. If you really like what I'm saying, and support it. And I'm showing you ways to support it, share it and stuff like that. Because we need to change the game here. Memphis is one of them places that if you get the right people in place, things will come together so incredible. It'll be folks begging to come back to Memphis. I'm probably it'll be folks running back here to get a part of this. Because what happened in Atlanta was that they was too comfortable. They got too comfortable. They was resting on past accomplishments. See, Maynard Jackson did something that was groundbreaking and game changer. But the thing about it is, like, if you the first generation to get the money, and you had to come up hard and get out the mud. Second generation ain't had to come out hard and get it out the mud, so they ain't gonna really appreciate it like that. It's like whatever. They said the second generation spend it, third one loses it. So the generation wealth stuff is funny to me, because really it's not gonna make people too soft as the generation goes along, as the generations come and go. But they were living off what Maynard Jackson did as the first Black elected mayor of Atlanta. And I mean, he forced them white companies to resubmit their contract bids for the airport renovation, which is now the Hartfield Jackson Airport, named after him and the other guy, Hartfield. But he told them they got to get some Black folks as subcontractors. So he said, resubmit your bid and make sure Black folks are the or minority, whatever, Black people get minority subcontracting benefits. So he able to create a millionaire class of Black business people who end up supporting him for his political aspirations. So that's the way it works. You help get people opportunities, and they help reinvest in you getting more opportunities to help them get more opportunities. That's reciprocal relationship there. So, he did his job so well that people forgot that they had to work for it still, that it was a marathon. They thought that it was a sprint, it was all over with. So all that stuff he did, I mean, who else added to that legacy? Me and Ambassador Young, and then they brought the Olympics to Atlanta. That was a game changer. But what else? So-called Black leadership in Atlanta did anything since those times of Maynard Jackson and Ambassador Young when he was in office? What have they done since that time to add to that? Nothing. And that's why Atlanta is no longer a majority Black city. Memphis is the gem of the whole thing. Memphis is the gem of the country. It's the shining gem in the middle of the crown. It's the shiny gem in the middle of the crown. It's the shiny gem in the middle of the crown. And what needs to be done is that one thing that should have been done a long time ago. Got to fix these damn roads, these streets. I had to replace my tire, fairly new tire. Had to be replaced because I hit a pothole a couple weeks ago. It's inconvenient. But I mean, you go on streets in Memphis, man, you don't tell them, man, people rims, the underpart of your car. I know people that had to spend thousands of dollars on car repairs because of the conditions of the roads in Memphis. And it's really crazy. This is a distribution hub of the country. And you think about, like, I could drive on Lamar. It's like a battle zone. You got to dodge potholes and all this stuff. Potholes and prostitutes on Lamar Avenue. But when Lamar Avenue turns to Highway 78 in Mississippi, it's smooth sailing. Y'all talk bad about Mississippi. At least they roads are paved and there's no potholes, basically. So it's like it's a smooth ride on Highway 78 to Birmingham and Atlanta. But when you get when Highway 78 turns to Lamar Avenue in Memphis, it's horrible. But you got to pray, you know what I'm saying, just to make it today. You know what I'm saying? Going down the street. So them roads are horrible. And so my understanding, I had a conversation with some guy, military guy. I'm talking about like whoever. I told him whoever can fix these streets will be like a goat. I don't care if they don't get nothing else done. If you the mayor of Memphis and you could fix these streets, man, you will be goated, because that's very important. Cause I told the military guys, whatever you can say about Eisenhower, he's the father of interstate highway building in this country. He built the infrastructure for the highway and express, all that stuff. So that was like a major accomplishment. That gets him in the top 10 as far as I'm concerned of presidents. He built the interstate system, just like Roosevelt did the national park system. But the interstate system was a game changer for commerce. And Obama was correct that the government had to build on bridges and roads and stuff for you to have successful business. People laughed at that, they dismissed that, but yeah, the government is responsible for maintaining infrastructure. Like that book Wealth of Nations, like they talked about how this book came out centuries ago, but it's still like corporations are supposed to be temporary things. Like, for example, the government want to build a bridge. They create a corporation to build a bridge. Once that bridge is built, the corporation is dissolved. But now they saying corporations are people, which they not, but I'm talking about the Supreme Court and all that stuff. Now these people get set up with corporate welfare. And y'all talk about, individual welfare has nothing type of corporate welfare that Walmart and Elon Musk is a welfare king. He get all these billions of dollars of subsidies from the government. I mean, y'all impressed by it? I mean, I just like, it's more impressive to me. A Master P is more impressive than an Elon Musk when it comes to wealth building, because the way he had to get it. He did not have all the access to the Elon Musk had. He already had money. Like Fred Smith, I mean, he did great things, but he already had money. Donald Trump already had money. Herman Cain is more impressive to me than Donald Trump. Herman Cain was born in Memphis and raised in Atlanta. Y'all shit on Herman Cain. Herman Cain had like what Dick Gregory would say, one of the finest minds on the planet. He was brilliant. And y'all slept on Herman Cain. And he was a threat at 999, whatever he did. And white folks made sure he didn't come nowhere near the White House. But probably he was the most accomplished person to run for the White House. He could have been one of the most accomplished people. But it is what it is. He passed on now. But what I'm saying is that you in a country now, tied in with Trump. I mean, he's a 34 count felon and he's president. And people say, well, how can, and people weird to me saying, how can a felon be president? I mean, when I do job interviews with people are worried about misdemeanors they did 40 something years ago. I said, ma'am and sir, You paid your debt to society. That was 40 years ago when you was young, dumb. You was young and dumb. That happened 40 years ago. They shouldn't hold it against you. Like I told a sister, I said, look, Fred Smith killed 2 people. They still allowed him to become a billionaire. Fred Smith allegedly killed 2 people as civilian. They still allowed him to become a billionaire. God, only God can judge you. Only God can judge you. That's why I tell people. I mean, I'm not making light of the situation, but only God knows your heart and your intentions. So give yourself some grace. I tell people, give yourself some grace. So that's the thing. Um, Trump is like a boxer, man. He's a fighter. And a lot of folks would have gave up a long time ago. A lot of folks would have ended themselves if they had to face what Donald Trump had to face. And I got a lot of respect for the man for that. But then his effectiveness, even in the Middle East situation, I mean, people don't even understand how he moving. Like he playing Jedi mind tricks on people, man. And it's something to be said. And to me, like I have downloaded some things from the Universal God, and I learned my lesson. I'm not gonna tell everybody what God told me about what I'll be doing in the future. But if you believe in what I'm doing now, please support what I'm doing now so I can support you all in the future. That's all I got to say. But like, yeah, you fix the streets, man. The incidence of road rage will cut down. I believe a lot of road rage happened because of the condition of the streets, man. You already got other problems, and you got these streets and they're messing up your rims, the under part of your car, busting your tires and all this stuff, making you late for work. That would cut down on that. Memphis it's an eyesore. You got Graceland, one of the most visited residencies in the country. I think it's right behind the White House, and maybe one or two. Either White House #1 or Graceland's #2, or vice versa. But at them road, Elvis Presley Boulevard is tore up, y'all. That's really an insult for that to be tore up. Why is Elvis Presley Boulevard a mess? Y'all messing up y'all money. Cause I mean, I be hearing tourists say, man, why is the street like this? This is Elvis Presley Boulevard. And my thing is fix them streets, man. And then it will have a see, people say, oh, you just gonna focus on fixing streets. Why not? Because if you can fix those streets, it can improve people's attitudes about their life. It can help people have more pride and confidence in themselves. This basic stuff, man. Like these people make stuff harder than what it gotta be. Like, oh man, I want my kid to expand their worldview. Okay, well, teach them how to play an instrument. Baba Dick Gregory, he taught to parents, new parents, right? He would tell them, man, make sure your kid learn how to play the instrument because they'll give them a ride to college, give them a full ride to college. They learn how to play an instrument, they could go to college. And just because they get a music scholarship, don't mean they got to become professional musicians. This is a way for them to get into college, to help them realize other opportunities. And I know a friend of mine who passed away 10 years ago this summer, the late great Emerson Abel Jr., who was a big fan of Jimmy Lunsford. And also he was a phenomenal music educator. He was a high school band director at Manassas High School, where he went to school, as well as Westwood. And he sent a lot of kids to college based on helping them learn how to play music in his band. Award-winning band. Sent a lot of kids to college. Matter of fact, he's the co-founder of the Southern Heritage Classic that FedEx supported over the years. Fred Smith FedEx supported something that my friend and Jagna founded that he does not get credit for enough. Like he founded it with Fred Jones in his home. He had the connections to the HBCUs. He was a product of the HBCUs. He did high school band and college band. So he had a network that they utilized to get this thing off the ground. And yet he's not talked about when it comes to the history of the Southern Heritage Classic, which is an insult. But what I'm telling y'all is that there's a lot to Memphis that should be celebrated. There are more songs about Memphis than any other city in America. Let me repeat this. There are more recorded songs in American music history about Memphis and Memphis connected places than any city. There are more songs about Memphis than Chicago, New York, L.A., Houston, Atlanta. So what is Memphis then? Y'all keep on, put some respect on the name, man. You talking about basketball? John Calipari wasn't afraid to coach the Memphis Tigers down here. Penny Hardaway ain't afraid to coach Memphis. He ain't scared no Memphis. Ja Morant let it be known he ain't afraid of Memphis. He repping Memphis. Shit, you see like Zebo, Zach Randolph, Tony Allen, you guys love Memphis. Memphis is a basketball town. We love the ballers, man. And you got to understand too, with Memphis, a lot of this stuff is not just no random acts of violence. It's like, homicide. A lot of times people are getting killed and violated by the people that know them. It's a lot of times it's family members killing family members or robbing family members or people in the same area robbing and killing each other. Could be some gang related stuff. A lot of stuff is targeted. So it's not like it's just like you gonna walk down the street. A lot of times now we had our spree killings. We had the Ezekiel Kelly guy character. Just you have your bishop moments from Juice. You do. That's any city, any place, because America is a very violent place. Like Dr. King said, the greatest purveyor of violence on the planet is my own government. So this is a very violent place. It's not just Memphis, folks. And Memphis not just, it's like it's weird. I don't think about what y'all think about Memphis every day. I don't wake up and think about, man, I mean, life happens, right? But I'm not thinking about no negative stuff like that. I'm not afraid to walk down the street. I'm not afraid to go to the restaurant. I'm not afraid to go to church because I'm in Memphis. It's like you people that lie about, when you coming up to Jim Crow, every day was horrible. Every day was not horrible living in Jim Crow America. Yeah, I said it. Because you had opportunities that we wish we had now. And what I mean by that, in Memphis, um, Manassas High School, you had the Firestone across the street, the Firestone factory. I could drop out of Manassas High School, go work at Firestone for 40 years, 30 something, 40 years. I could raise a family of 4 people or more, whatever. My wife can stay at home to raise the kids and take care of home. I'm the only one with an outside job, able to send my kids to college, able to retire with a great pension. What was so bad about that? But now y'all want to eat with white people. Y'all don't go to restaurants with white folks spitting in your food and everything else, just so you can say you sat next to a white person to eat a shitty hamburger. Now, I'm not knocking, but Jim Crow forced us to work with each other. That's what I'm talking about. People talking about role models. All role models don't have to be positive. You just learn from everybody. It's like Jim Crow America, black folks, you had the doctor and the lawyer and a business owner. They all lived in the same neighborhood as the wino, as the pimp, as the hoe. Everybody lived together. Church was there. You had community. You had ownership. You had investment. We don't have that now. We have no ownership. You can't name one thing that black folks own outright. Maybe some barbecue restaurants. We don't even own a barbecue restaurant. You got the Asians, they control barbecue. You got a place called Chinatown in Memphis that's been in business for almost 20 years. I don't understand why. I ain't eaten in Chinatown since I don't know how long. It's been since the 2000s. I don't think I eaten in Chinatown since Gina 6 happened in 2007. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, it's crazy, man. What do black folks own? You think about hotels and motels. You think about who the Indians. I don't care where I go. Indians owning Holiday Inn. They own this and own that. And by the way, Holiday Inn was started in Memphis back in the 50s. Kimmons Wilson. You do not have modern America without Memphis, man. You don't have it. Memphis, the most recorded city in music history in America. Memphis is the birthplace of a supermarket. Clarence Saunders started Piggly Wiggly September 1916 in Memphis. FedEx started here. Holiday Inn started here. AutoZone is headquartered here. AutoZone was actually started in Forest City, Arkansas, that was founded by a Memphian named General Nathan Bedford Forrest, who was the first Grand Wizard of the KKK or KKK. He was a Memphian and a Democrat. But they moved the headquarters in Memphis across the river from Forest City, Arkansas, that he founded, General Forrest. Memphis is a juggernaut. I remember I said the biggest crime in Memphis is undereducating the general population of Memphians. A relative of mine told me about when The Firm was filmed in Memphis back in the early 90s. The Firm with Tom Cruise, the John Grisham novel. John Grisham is from this area, from Mississippi, whatever. But he wrote The Firm that came into a blockbuster movie. It was filmed in Memphis. You had like Gene Hackman, you had Tom Cruise, you had an all-star cast, right? And she was telling me about how the producers behind The Firm They wanted to invest in Memphis. They wanted to make Memphis a Hollywood hub, like kind of like what Atlanta is now. They wanted to make Memphis back in the '90s a place where folks can be trained in the media, in the medium of filmmaking. And you know how much of an opportunity it would have been for people here in Memphis to learn that trade. How much of a boon to the economy that would have been. And the white fathers of the city white fathers, they said no. The reason why they said no, because it benefit too many black folks. Just like the Mayor Young say he can't do anything just for black people. When it benefits us too much, it's a problem. But what people don't understand, when things are done for us initially, it becomes everybody else stuff but ours. When they initially did affirmative action, it was done to help right the wrongs as it relates to Black American natives. Matter of fact, you could trace the speech back to Lyndon B. Johnson did at Howard. It talked about the reason why he backed and created affirmative action. He did a speech at Howard University. Yeah, I talk about Lyndon B. Johnson, but they all like that. You know, y'all, I don't know why you think we got a friend. We got no friends when it comes to Black American natives. Hell, we don't got allies. But anyway, so eventually it would have benefited everybody else. That's how they do it in America. They'll do things for black folks. Then once black folks get a little bit of a taste, they'll take it out our mouths and slap the taste out our mouths, and everybody else get to get the sprinkle. They sprinkle the crumbs to everywhere else but black people again. Because we don't have no leadership. You know, like the people that are black in Memphis that are in these positions, they're not leaders. They're representatives of the interests that put them there. So if you a person that got less than 30% of the vote and you the so-called mayor or leader of the city, who are the people that put you in that position? What entity gave you the money and the resources for you to be put in that position? Because the people did not want you. And then you making moves after you mayor that really alienate you from the people as it relates to the supercomputer situation with Elon Musk, as it relates to Tyree Nichols. Because one of the first things I would have done was fire Police Chief Davis, because she's a poison. Poison. No, just a big butt and a smile. And like I said, the Police Chief Davis is a very attractive black woman, older, seasoned black woman. She looks real good in uniform. She's well spoken. She's articulate when she's reading off the teleprompter. But she is no good for the morale of the people of Memphis as it relates to Tyree Nichols' situation. Because she created the Scorpion unit. She put those batteries in the monsters back. She is Dr. Frankenstein. Those were her monsters that she allowed to roam the streets of Memphis. God only knows how many people they violated. But even when you take her back to Atlanta, where she's from, when she did the Red Dog unit, and it killed that black woman, a 90-something-year-old black grandmother, or great grandmother, Katherine Johnson, killed her in her home because she was practicing the castle doctrine. She's doing the castle doctrine, standing her ground. These goons breaking into her home in the middle of the night, one of the roughest neighborhoods in Atlanta. And, you know, she's shooting in self-defense, and they shot her all full of bullet holes. And then they lied like it was a trap house. They tried to plant drugs in that woman's house and came out in court. And the family won a civil suit where they was awarded $4.5 million. And I remember when that story first happened, it's around Thanksgiving of, I think, 2008 or something like that. And that was her unit she made. Red Dog. I remember Goody Mob had that song about what you nigga know about the dirty South. The Red Dogs come knocking, but this is, I guess her version was a different Red Dog. But anyway, Dirty South. But actually she was trained by Israel. People don't understand, like the Palestinians are the Black American natives of the Middle East. Like whatever they doing, whatever the Jewish people, Israel be doing, the Palestinians, they teach American police how to do to us. So she actually was trained by Israel in her policing style. And a lot of police officials in America were trained by Israel. You see how Israel treat Palestinians. Okay, let's get you a clue. It's an open air prison. But, and where is ICE for APAC? Why hasn't ICE kicked out APAC? APAC, Kennedy knew it was a problem when he was president. And we know it is what it is. Kennedy knew things, was trying to make moves, and guess what happens? But anyway, getting back to Memphis, which is very fascinating. I got about 10 more minutes. I'm gonna be on here. I'm gonna try to edit it up. This stuff, split it up a little bit the best I can. But the only black leader that's a selected elected official I could think of in Memphis, the actual real they represent their constituency is State Rep Justin Pearson. I got a lot of respect for that brother. That brother, he spoke at our events, my nonprofit. He supported the work that we done. We support what he do. Um, he's an environmental activist. He stopped that what they call it, that pipeline from being built, destroying the aquifer here in Memphis and in a black neighborhood. He's about environmental, racial justice. Come from a strong, beautiful family that supports him. They got their own nonprofit. They do environmental justice, but they're focused on his zip code of 38109 that he represents in the state representatives house, which is known as Boxtown. That's the Boxtown, but they has, like, from my understanding, the cancer rate in Boxtown is 4 times higher than the national average. And that's the home of the supercomputer that Elon Musk snuck in the back door. He backdoored us with the super AI. And the thing about it was not transparent. And these folks supposed to be public officials and public servants, but they work for their own self-interest a lot of times. So he's been very vocal. And I like what he did last week when he had a teach-in at a local black church here. And he talked about, what was going on, the environmental harm that was being done with the turbines and stuff. And Paul Young, he got on national television. He looked a part of a spokesperson, but he did not look like a part of a people's mayor. He was not a people's mayor. He was more concerned about tax revenue coming in. What good is all that money coming in and there's nobody left to spend it in that zip code? It becomes at the sacrifice of the health of current and future generations. Shame on you, Mr. Mayor. Shame on you, man. But I remember I met Paul Young when he was running for office back in March of 2023. I met him before then. It was some enthusiastic white person. So I love this guy. You got to meet him. I said, white folks love stuff. What does that mean for us? Well, some white people like me, I think, but when he's enthusiastic about me introducing Paul, and Paul was over the downtown commission at the time. There was a lot of money being developed into downtown as a playground for wealthy whites, and that's another story. But Paul Sank is a very amicable guy, very likable guy. But fast forward to the March 2023, he was doing a meet and greet at Lamar Owen, a historical black college in South Memphis. And I talked to him. I met his enthusiastic campaign and people. He got a beautiful family, his wife, kids, and beautiful people. And I pulled him to the side to ask him some questions. And they were pertinent to the condition of Memphis and stuff like that. He was very well versed. His opinions and perspective came across pretty well. And the thing about it is, I told him, Paul, my problem is that you took a lot of money from them people, from the white people, and you can't tell them no. He said, yes, I can. I could tell them no. I said, no, you can't, Paul. He said, I could tell them no behind closed doors and meetings. Yeah, but you can't really mean it. Because if they could get rid of King, they can get rid of a Kennedy in broad daylight. President Kennedy, Dr. King, who are you? But he wanted to be fast tracked. Now, even though he was appointed by Strickland, the previous mayor, to the Housing Development, and then he went to the Downtown Commission. So he was king made by Jim Strickland, who I think he's the dean of the law school at the University of Memphis right now. So he's still running things from the law school. He the one that hired Police Chief Davis before he went on his sabbatical, whatever. I think Jim Strickland fashioned himself as another boss crump. And but that, and we see what's going on now. He can't tell them folks no. He couldn't tell Elon Musk and them folks and the Memphis Chamber of Commerce. No, he couldn't tell them no. They can say no to us. They don't care about us, it seems. That's all I'm saying. It's very much a fascinating time to be alive. But Memphis is not a lost cause. This is only the beginning, folks. And thank y'all for tuning out to tune in to get in when you fit in with Brother Heard. I got more to say. I'm just getting in my my routine. Just feeling myself. Can you feel me? I hope this came in loud and clear, loud enough. Interest time to be live. Like the birds from Brother Herb, please spread the word. YouTube, we all be TV too. Rumble is we all be TV. Is rumble.com/we all be TV, one word. You also can cash app your support $R2C2H2. You can PayPal and Zelle it at R2C2H2 at gmail.com. You can Vimo at R2C2H2. Apple Cash 901-299-4355. And you also become a Patreon member. Patreon.com/we all be, baby. And I have more to talk about, but it's something I won't get my chest. But I'm just tired of people putting disrespectful things about Memphis out there, and they don't balance it out with the history. I think I made a point that I'm gonna start talking more about the positive stuff and let the other folks have the negative stuff. Not because I'm delusional and I don't want to deal with it, but because there's so many good things going on. I remember I went to a city council meeting a couple years back to get more money for our projects. And I was just impressed with the people who were presenting requests for more dollars. There's a lot of people doing positive stuff in Memphis, not just black people, but white people, Asian, Latino. There's a lot of good things going on in Memphis that does not get reported. It's weird with these YouTubers. They'll come to Memphis from out the country. They'll find the worst representation of Memphis people to showcase and go viral. Now, I have no problem with people having a voice or giving people platforms that I may not agree with their perspective or worldview, but I would like for people to be balanced because there's a lot of good things that's happening in Memphis that get under publicized. Like I like the stuff that we do at the We All Be Group Incorporated as it relates to the Four Pillow Massacre. Remember Four Pillow projects we do, and also Jimmy Lunsford. That gets underreported and undervalued. But the thing about it is that I have peace of mind knowing that I'm on the right side of this thing called history, and that I got more to contribute. But same time, I got to kick up some dust right now. That's why I had this podcast to kick up a little bit of dust, to do a little, counter punching, reclaiming the narrative. But leadership and lack thereof, I'm tired of it. I'm really tired of this thing, and God gave me too much energy now to allow these people to operate without any pushback. It needs to be pushback, but also God gave me enough sense to know that I do not need to tell people everything, all the moves I'm making or will be making soon. And I want to encourage other people to live their truths, to speak out. Don't give out. Don't give up. Don't give in. This is only the beginning, baby. It's only the beginning. Spread a run. Y'all got to keep on producing and pushing. And also, y'all can buy artivist gear. I got to do a better job supporting, promoting this. Because I'm at a point now where I just want to live my truth, man. This summer is running rebel season. Running rebel. This is my season, baby. Just want to live my truth. I think I cover everything. It seems like it's all over the place, but really it's not. I just move different. But anyway, y'all, God bless y'all. Take care and know that the best is yet to come. Because we all be in the winning. Baby, baby. One love. No, that's not it. Remove. This is it.